I'm Dr. Dave Janda. Welcome back to our combined Dave versus the MSM and Operation Freedom briefing. Thank you for joining me today. And every day, we are available 24/7 without fail at davejanda.com. I do another 4 to 5 video format shows every week. In addition, we have our radio show out of the People's Republic of Ann Arbor, out of our Freedom Bunker at Wham Talk 1600, every Sunday, starting at 2 o'clock. You can listen live and free. Great guests, great analysis, put you far ahead of the curve. All you have to do is go to davejanda.com on Sunday, starting at 2, and hit the listen live button, and you're with us. The podcasts, they're part of our subscription platform, along with the other video format shows I do every week, including our WTF show, where I dissect what's happening behind the curtain based on the sources I've developed over the past 37 years. They don't provide content, information to any other person than me because I've known them for so long. And everything we have spoken about, we have been far ahead of the curve because of those sources. In addition, we have our archives to all of our shows, our WTF show, our Insider Insight show, where I bring a guest forward that has contacts as well and themselves from behind the curtain to discuss issues I cannot discuss on the radio or on any social media platform. Same is true with the WTF show. There are choke points still to this day in every social media platform that censor, that not just demonetize, but block notifications from going out. Just look at these videos. It's a joke what they're doing. The manipulation of the notifications, of the view counts, of the likes. I've been on the back ends of all the social media platforms watching my videos and the analytics. I've actually seen the view numbers go down in real time as the video went on. It's impossible. Same with the likes. That's why davejanda.com is so important. And it's secure, it's protected. Put a lot of money, thousands of dollars every month into the protection on that site. And the content is second to none. I hope you'll join us at davejanda.com, 24/7. I want to start with a quote from Elon Musk. I guess we could call him now the former head of DOGE. As a friend of mine described it, working on DOGE, this is like an amazing puzzle, uncovering the secrets of an ancient civilization that went extinct. Except this one is still around. It's called the United States government. It's not just an ancient civilization, it's a crime scene. If you look at the money laundering operations that have been uncovered by what I call the DOGistas, it's near incomprehensible. We all thought it was bad, but this is beyond bad. They don't even have a track record of how much money went where. It's not just, we talk about the Pentagon. It hasn't passed an audit in many years. There's no agency in the United States federal government that could pass a legitimate audit for decades. And what feeds that beast is your sweat and my sweat and all that we do to make our country better through our work efforts that the government taxes and then doesn't just whittle it away. They stuff it in their pockets like criminals. They stuff it in their friends' pockets, their relatives' organizations' pockets. It's sick. Which is why Elon Musk is the former head of DOGE. They couldn't have him around anymore. It was too much of a loose cannon rolling around the deck that they could not completely control. Look, I have problems with Elon Musk. To this day, he obviously owns X. To this day, there are thousands of us, including me, that are still suspended from our main accounts on Twitter or X. My Dr. Dave Janda account is still suspended for a very innocuous statement I made on January 8th, 2021. This is the freedom stripping virus that adversely affected the 2020 election. 100% accurate, and frankly, years ahead of the curve. Because the evidence has come forward from behind the curtain now that I was speaking about over 4 years ago. But I'm still suspended. So are thousands of others. If he was really about freedom of speech, none of us would still be suspended. So I have some issues. But I also have some praise. He put his life on the line for exposing the money laundering, criminal racketeering operation that's going on by, now remember, there's one political party in Washington, I've told you this for 15 years on the radio, called the Republicans, owned and operated by a criminal banking syndicate. They're all owned. 99.9% of them. I know that's not pleasant, but it's the truth. I mean, how many people supported Elon Musk, not just with words, but with actions? Huh? In D.C. How many? Oh, the public did, all of us around the country. Millions of us. I think that over 70% of people supported DOGE. Those 30%, they're all about, hey, I'm all about fraud and abuse and corruption. Yeah. And waste. Yeah, that's why I'm against Musk. That's what these right out here in the People's Republic of Anarchy, that's what some of them are telling you. The word psychopath comes to mind. Hate-filled, that they can't even see the light of day in truth. Congressman Tim Burchett, one of the more honest people in D.C., said the following: how corrupt is government? The United States government? Well, Tim Burchett says if anyone were to leak where the money goes when the Pentagon fails their audits, they would be murdered. No, his words, not mine. Quote, the Pentagon that has billions of dollars that they hide, we don't ask for any accounting of them. They never pass an audit in the history of audits. I've often said the only way we're really going to get to the bottom of this is somebody's going to walk out of one of these labs with this information and put it out on the internet before they commit, quote, suicide, end quote, by shooting themselves in the back of the head 5 times, end quote. He's right. You see, when it comes to accountability, it comes down to and transparency. Exposing it, isolating it, starve it of its money supply. And that's what DOGE has been doing. But they've lost a little bit of their momentum, their mojo, with Elon hitting the eject button. More on that in a minute about him hitting the eject button. But when it comes to accountability, and if you want to end the money laundering, you expose it, you isolate it, you starve it, you cut it out. You prosecute it. Well, you know, with everything we've seen out of Pam Bondi and the Department of Justice, I don't think we can much count on this. She's the Jeff Sessions in a pantsuit. This is the do-nothing DOJ 2.0 that we saw in the Trump 1.0 administration. You expose it, you isolate it, you starve it, you prosecute it, you sentence it, and you end it. Because ultimately our adversary, the deep state, the globalist international criminal banking syndicate, the globalist syndicate, the New World Order crowd, it's all the same. They're about chaos, conflict, crisis, censorship, control, and coercion. That's their playbook. And the key is accountability and transparency. See, that's really, in a nutshell, what DOGE has been all about. From Zero Hedge, federal employees hate DOGE because they fear meritocracy. Fairness. In reality, a huge number of federal bureaucrats act as if they found a cheat code to life, and until the arrival of Elon Musk's DOGE audits, that assumption was generally true. The concept of meritocracy is so alien to the federal system that basic job requirements common to almost every company in the country are seen as acts of abuse. And that's the truth. People don't like to hear it. But that's what they're using our hard-earned tax dollars for, right? To suppress, to stifle meritocracy. And DOGE has brought some meritocracy back. And that cannot be tolerated by the deep state. Just a couple of their findings at DOGE, there are a lot of them. Elon Musk and DOGE have discovered that there are 394 million Social Security recipients in the United States, despite the country having only 334 million citizens. In other words, there are 60 million more Social Security recipients than there are people in this country. There's some fraud for you. How did that happen? Clerical error. Yeah, right. That's what they want you to believe. You see, when people are held to the fire and the truth comes out, you hear this, oh, well, that was an accident. No. Oh, well, it was just a bad set of consequences, a sequence of events that led to that. No. Well, it's incompetence that led to that. This is what they all want you to believe. No. All of this that has been uncovered by DOGE and still ongoing, albeit probably not quite at the pace it was when Elon was rolling around the decks in D.C. All of this is intentional. It's willful. It's criminal fraud. It's racketeering. Elon Musk's DOGE team uncovers over 25 million people ages 100 plus in the Social Security database. Some, in fact, are older than the Constitution. Well, they uncovered one person who was between 360 and 369 years of age, one person who was between 240 and 249 years of age, and 1,039 individuals who are aged 220 to 229 years of age. Oh, and then let's do a little money revelations from DOGE. DOGE reveals that, again, this is what feeds the beast. This is what feeds the deep state. This is why going after their money operation, money laundering operation, is starving it. And they like to be well fed with the green stuff. DOGE reveals $4.7 trillion with a T. $4.7 trillion of taxpayer money went into government black holes and is untraceable. Elon Musk, this is from Christina Lala. Elon Musk DOGE revealed the federal government did not trace $4.7 trillion in payments. $4.7 trillion in payments were left blank, making it nearly impossible to trace. And then we had the 14 that Elon Musk spoke about, magic money computers that without any transaction notices were printing out checks to parts unknown, people unknown, entities unknown. And that isn't included, by the way, these magic money machines that have been producing trillions of dollars over years. That's not included in our debt numbers, our deficit numbers. What, we $2 trillion in deficit every year, our debt, national debt, that's spoken about is $37 trillion, but when you add the unfunded liabilities and mandates in, it's over a couple $100 trillion. And all of us are working our fingers to the bone. And part of our fingers are going in taxes, a big chunk of the fingers, for these scum to launder into their own pockets. That's how the people like Pelosi make 150 grand. And after they're in Washington for, I don't know, well, even look at AOC. She's been there, what, 4, 8, 6 years or something? Started as a barmaid. That's how she got there. She now has 20 million in her account. Nancy Pelosi, hundreds of millions. How do they do that? Racketeering. Criminal operations. That's how they do it. Meanwhile, the part of the deep state that's never going to uncover any of this, well, they're just trying to hammer the DOGistas, right, into oblivion. As legacy media, the bought-off lamestream fake media, this from Ben Zeichholz from the Western Journal, as legacy media freaks over one DOGE employee getting potential IRS access, we learn Biden gave 919 people access. The Trump administration's Department of Government Efficiency is providing one singular staff member access to IRS data. And the media and the globalists in government, with R's and D's after the name, are really upset about this. Gavin Klinger, a software engineer who works at DOGE, will be based at the IRS for 120 days. He'll work as a senior advisor to the IRS acting commissioner. But the media's all upset about that. But they didn't care who had access to that data during the Biden years. One report from the Treasury Inspector General for Tax Administration revealed that during the Biden administration, there were as many as 919 individuals had access to unmasked, wide open, IRS data. Roughly 20 of those individuals during the Biden administration were, quote, researchers and student volunteers, end quote. Does that make you feel just really good that student volunteers had access to millions of Americans' information? Secure information? Well, once was secure information. Ben Zeichel says, in other words, the media and the globalists had no reason to be concerned about novices and young people accessing information in our government until the Trump administration came into power, and until that power was used to threaten the bureaucracy. Yeah. Accountability, transparency. And in addition to the media, the globalists launched, both the R's and D's, their lawfare operation through their bought and paid for judicial system. Judge Shuchkin denies Democrat Attorney General's request for restraining order against Elon Musk and DOGE. But to get to that decision, it took many weeks. See, they were trying to stall because they knew Elon Musk had a timer on him, how far he was going to go before he left. So they had to try to run the clock by all these lawsuits. And granted, there were some decisions early on that were really bad for freedom and for transparency and accountability, but then they got reversed, but it took months. It's not an accident. Federal judge finally rules in favor of a Trump government layoffs. That took a couple lawsuits and appeals for that to happen. Again, more delays, more running out the clock. Judge finally declines to block Trump's move to put thousands of USAID workers on leave. Took many, many weeks because it took many appeals. And then when it was time for the freedom fighters, I use that term loosely with these clowns in Congress. All of us are freedom fighters. They're all con artists, controlled opposition. When they had an opportunity to codify, in other words, put into legislation to get these cuts, this fraud, waste, and abuse that the DOGistas had exposed, put their lives on the line to expose, when it came to that big, beautiful bill and riders off the bill, they could have codified those cuts. Nope, can't let that happen. Can't let the grift end. Every single one of them in Congress. Matt Van Sol, a financial analyst, wrote, DOGE is literally one of the most popular government initiatives in history. 73% of Americans say they support cutting government waste. 73. That means you got 27% kukulas out there. Okay? Trump brought in the smartest man on earth and a lot of other smart people to do it. The DOGistas. The left have tried to destroy Elon Musk for his involvement. The GOP won't vote on it. I can't believe this. And to that X post, Elon Musk posted the following. I did my best. Yeah. See, ultimately, it came down to the fact that Musk isn't a politician. He's many things, one of which is he's a computer engineer. He's a builder. He gets things done. And if he can't get things done, he moves on. You see, he saw the writing on the wall. And he's got a lot of threats. I don't think he left primarily because of the threats. No, they weren't fun, obviously. All of us that get threats for speaking truth, they're not fun. But we soldier on. Remember, when he started with DOGE, he was talking about being there till July of 2026 in some capacity. And then we heard in April, end of April 2025, well, I'm going to cut it back to 1 or 2 days a week. That's because there were many things going on, including this budget process, where he's saying, look, I'm putting my life on the line. I'm putting all this time and effort in. I'm sleeping on the floor in the old executive office building, now called the Eisenhower building, next to the White House, on the White House campus. I'm putting my companies on hold. My companies are getting bombed. They're getting burned. They're getting ravaged. And then when I try to get some action, why did it take the White House until June 1st to send over rescission package where the DOGE cuts were included? Why wasn't that done months before? Because you had people in the White House that got their nose out of joint that Elon was getting too much credit. It wasn't President Trump. President Trump was fine with it. Give him a credit. Let's get it over. There were blockades in the White House. Who do you blame for that? Well, one person you got to blame for that is Susie Wiles, the chief of staff. She's the air traffic controller in there, and if she wasn't getting the rescission package out, hey, sorry. But you had other people like Bessent that are jealous. A little bit Rubio's, from what I understand from my contacts. Lutnick. That's why the leaders in Congress, we don't want Musk to get this credit. We want to take the credit, but we don't want to do anything about it because it'll end the grift. And that's ultimately, I believe, from what I've heard from the DOGistas that I come in contact with, of why he left. Because he couldn't get things done. In spite of doing everything possible, and his team doing everything possible, these people don't want to fix themselves. Why do we want to help them anymore? They just keep throwing up roadblocks. Let's try somewhere else to be constructive. That's where we are. But that's not where we should stay. And it comes down to you and me. Let me tell you what I do. I call the White House, the House, members of the House, not just my own, a number of members, the Senate, not just our senators, they're clueless, the senators from the People's Republic of Michigan, but other senators. You know, a good one who talks a big game is Cruz. Another big one who do nothing is Jim Jordan. I'm going to take my suit coat off and I'm going to roll up my sleeves, show you how hard I'm working. But are you going to do anything? No, I'm going to send a strongly worded email and that's it. That's all I'm going to do. They're all con artists. You go to their offices. Say, what are you doing? What are you doing about these DOGE cuts? What are you doing to support the DOGE team so more of this fraud, waste, and abuse occurs? If you're not going to do something, guess what? We're going to call for somebody to run against you in the primary, get you out of that big fat leather chair doing nothing. Maybe we'll even push to get you recalled. How's that sound? How about this? We're going to find out who your big donors are, and we're going to go to them and say, you know what? The people are not in this person's favor. They hate this. I do it to the governor's office. Do it to your governor's office. Same thing. What are you doing about this? They've identified this. I'm sure there's all kinds of problems in our state capitol. Who's on that? Nobody. Do the same thing with your House rep, your senator from your state. Let them know that you know. That's one thing. 2, network this information. Network this video to your friends and family. 99% of the people you know don't know anything about what I just spoke about. But they should. That's where you come in. And then say, we need to act. We need to let people at all levels of government know. And you can do it to your local government. What are you doing like what DOGE is doing? What are you doing to cut costs in our community? So that there's less taxing, stealing from us. So you guys can just play around and do nothing. Call them out. You know, be peaceful. But it needs to be done. That's the only way this ball moves forward. Otherwise, DOGE dies. It's that simple. Let's not let that happen. We are available 24/7 at davejanda.com. Please stop on by. Become a member of our family, our Freedom Family. You can sign up for a month. It's $9. It renews every month, but you don't have to renew, but I don't know why you want. Because the information we get, we put you months, years ahead of the curve. You're never going to get this information from any other source. It's information I can't talk about on the radio, as I mentioned, or on social media platforms. Become a member of our Freedom Family. I guarantee you will be happy you did. And you get access to our email alert system that not just notifies you of new content being posted, but also important developments as we see them. Join us. Until next time, Dave Janda signing off. Dream big and dare to fail. Thanks for your time today.